Hi, everyone. We see that people is joining us, so I will introduce our speakers in a little bit, in a few minutes. Hi, Monica.
Hello, everyone. How you guys doing?
Great.
Okay, so I think we are ready to start. So thanks everyone to joining us. So excited to have this webinar with these amazing speakers. It's the first webinar of the year that we have a speaker joining us. That is not only clients, also it's partners that we have with InsuredMine, and the most important, it's experts in insurance. So this webinar is going to be about talking more about the industry trends, what we have seen, and of course, our experts, what they have seen, insights for this 2025, and probably what is coming on 2026. The agenda is welcome, meet our speakers, talk about the insurance industry trends. If you have any questions, please use the chat, or also you know that you have the Q&A, so we can answer those questions for you, and then wrapping up the session. So let me introduce our amazing speakers. We have Monica Adwani, Mellissa Stallings, Ryan Sheppard, and Ryan Kenny. Brent Sheppard and Ryan Kenny. I mixed the names and the last names. So guys, do you want to introduce yourself? Give a little bit about you, your expertise, and let's start. Who wants to go first? Monica, Mellissa, Ryan, Brent?
Go first so we can get this going. My name is Monica Adwani. I am the CEO and owner of Breezy Seguros and Sabatal. Been in the industry for about 20 years now. Seems like it was yesterday. And we specialize on technology and the minority communities. So we are specialized on the minority market, on business insurance. And that's what we do day in and day out. So I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you, Monica.
Hi, I'm Mellissa Stallings, and truly honored to be asked to be on this webinar with experts that I respect in the industry as well. I started my agency in 2008. We have a small, mostly personal lines insurance brokerage in Douglasville, Georgia. Douglasville is right between Atlanta and the Alabama-Georgia border. And we love technology also. And we're currently really trying to implement some AI and a good amount of AI. So I don't by any means call myself the expert. So I appreciate that compliment. But we are constantly learning in this evolving industry, and excited to share some of the things that we're doing, but also learn from all of you as well. So thanks for having me. Popcorn Ryan.
Well, I guess I'll jump in then. I'm Ryan Kennedy. I am the Vice President of Sales for Xanatek. I have been with Xanatek for just over 5 years, and I spent 15 years prior to that as an agent, agency manager, and company rep before that. So I spent a little bit of the technology, a little bit of the insurance.
Thank you, Ryan. Brent?
And I'm Brent Sheppard. I'm the president and founder of Xanatek. I like to say I had more fun playing with computers and selling insurance because I was an agent a really long time ago, but got into the technology side, and that's where I've landed and been here for, yikes, 30 plus years, I think, at this point. So We do agency management software, so that's where our focus is at.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you all for introducing yourself. And as I mentioned, we are so excited to have you here. And the topics that we're going to cover today is going to be the big picture trends in insurance, how you guys see these insurance trends. Then we're going to cover the big topic that we all know now, talking and everything. It's about artificial intelligence perspective. Then it's going to be technology and digital transformation, growth and retention, and then industry evolution and leadership. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we have some questions about all of these big trends. So I would like to start with these questions. What do you think will be the biggest trend that reshape the industry in 2025? What do you think, guys?
All right, we'll take the lead here. So I do think we're going to see a little bit more of a coming back to normal type of market, at least in the commercial side. The personal lines is still a little bit shaky, but I think a lot of people is extremely focused right now on implementing AI and see how they can make that work in order to reduce, not only manpower, but also increase efficiency. So if I were to put my money on the table, I will say everybody's looking towards that new trend that is AI.
Thank you, Monica. Mellissa, Ryan, Brent, any comments here? Something that you want to add?
Really agree with AI. I think something that's a little bit tough is because our industry has so much tenure and is so old. Sometimes it's hard to adopt new things, especially if the phrase that this is the way we've always done it. We try to not say that in our agency, and we try to continue to adopt and embrace artificial intelligence, because if you don't, in my opinion, you'll get left behind. So that's what we're trying to do, is forge some of the technology too. So I think that's definitely the trend in the world, in every industry, but in insurance as well, for sure.
I like that. And also, I mean, as I have been working also with insurance agencies, what will be your recommendation to face this transition, right? Because sometimes as an InsuredMine, we receive clients that they say, I'm still working in a spreadsheet. So moving to a spreadsheet to a CRM, it's a big jump. And then adding all of these technology, integration, automations, it's a big challenge. So what will be your recommendation?
Just continue to talk to peers, both inside and outside the industry. I know I'm willing to share. I don't have any secrets in my agency, but just being a part of different networks, different associations, attending, showing up to industry events is where you learn really a lot about what's happening out there in the world of technology. But also, my husband's in the mortgage business and we're in the same building. And so he really is forging a lot of amazing technology on that side of the industry. So we're trying to adopt that to ours as well as best that we can. So I think looking inside and outside the industry for ideas and continue to be innovative and unique and creative. I know Monica has developed a ton of amazing technology in her agency, which is really neat. I use a lot of the industry technology, including InsuredMine. But I love getting in on software too when it's new. Sometimes depends on the company. InsuredMine was one of those, but because you get to help with development behind the scenes too, and you really get to have a voice and see some really, and InsuredMine's fantastic at that. Like when we've had ideas or suggestions, y'all have done a great job implementing that. So shameless plug. That's all right. You can pay me later for that. Tell Roshan. I'm just kidding.
I would tell him.
So I would kind of add, I think, with looking at the trends, AI is definitely the trend, but I don't think we really know where it's going to land yet. And when I say that, if you've watched the news, there's a new latest, greatest AI engine out there about every third week. And then what does it do? How does it function and how did it function with the insurance industry. So I think while I'm a firm believer AI is going to be impactful, I really don't think it's too infant at this point to know what it's going to impact in the long term. Because I'm afraid if you spend too much time getting involved in it right now, that's going to change and you're going to be doing something totally different later on.
I also think from talking to some of our customers and even prospects, just kind of evaluating what you really want to do with either with AI or just with your tech in general. There may be some agencies like you guys were saying where, they're still in Excel spreadsheets or using nothing but paper files. Do they want to jump right into AI? Probably not. Make some baby steps first. But like Mellissa said, talk to the others in the industry, find out, kind of what's out there, and then make an educated evaluation of your own situation and kind of go from there.
Yep.
I'm just going to chime into that real fast too, if you don't mind. Brent and Ryan, along that, I think it's huge. A mistake that I made is when I made a decision on a management system, I was thinking this is where I'm going instead of adopting a management system for where I am right now. I was hoping and thinking I was going to grow commercial lines a lot quicker than we have. And so not being scared also to adapt technology, but open to change as well. I think a lot of us get really sedentary in our tech stack. And 2.5 years ago, we changed 6 systems at once, and it was a lot, but it was all worth it. So don't be scared of that.
I also think that a lot of people, is looking through AI, but also they need to look into a lot of operational efficiency, right? So they might end up saying, oh, I'm using AI, but really they're just adopting a quick system that reads their email and helps them to get organized better. So even, I feel like a lot of them, like Ryan mentioned, there is still a lot of agents that do not have that organizational soundproof agency that they might want to use AI to answer calls, to do SDR job, to get them more sales, doing all these things, but they still don't have a foundation of operational efficiency. So I think it, like Ryan mentioned, it will look very differently for everyone depending on the level of adaptation that they have. But also I think something we really need to remind all agents that none of these can be implemented or executed unless you are operationally efficient and sound, and you have SOPs that you can teach this AI exactly how things need to get done. So I think that's really also important to bring to the table, because I hear a lot of people, saying that AI is here to solve all my problems, but there is a lot of work that needs to be done behind that from the human factor, that if you haven't done that yet, better get started. So like Brent said, when those systems, are proved to be working, those better ones that are going to be standing, then you have that baseline that it's going to help you to take that step. So I think that's important also, just from like Mellissa mentioned, this is a very old industry, and a lot of us, and I'll include myself too, because we're not perfect, none of us are. A lot of us is still with certain mindsets that we need to kind of shift.
Yeah, and I agree, because sometimes people, and this is all over the business, not only insurance, they are scared about AI, if AI is going to take over the jobs or not, right? I would say it depends, and also you need to use the technology in your favor to make more efficient your process, or also to become more intelligent on how are you going to implement that in your business, and also as a person, how can you get advantage on that technology, AI or other technology, to becoming the best in your company or the best person.
I think it's going to be a long time before you see AI replace a person, especially in this industry, because a human brain still functions very well most days. And the AI brain is only as good as what the inputs are. And I think one of the things that you need to be cautious about when using AI, because one of the things I think of, well, wouldn't it be great to just upload my book of contractors and say, analyze this for me and tell me what I need to know about it when I need to change. Sounds like a great idea, but there's a huge security risk there because when you upload that information to an AI, it stores that information and keeps it. So you have to be careful that you're not sending, private data, private information to an AI bot or a AI system that could make you vulnerable later on before you even really know it.
Yep. That's right. Other question that probably could help us is like, how do you think the customer experience and expectations will evolve over the year? Like also with technology, right? The customer experience will change. What do you think?
Well, right now in our agency, we are utilizing AI already in our customer experience department. We are definitely settled or set up in a very different way than probably most agencies. So we do have a CX team and we have account managers and sales. So non-account manager or no salesperson answers the phone unless it goes through the CX department. In our AI agent, her name is Via. She basically utilizes her skill that we've been teaching her to identify, a couple things from that client, not only what they're calling about, but the language that they prefer to talk. We serve, in Spanish, Portuguese, and English. So given that, that's really important to us, we want to make sure that when the client calls, it's automatically identified what English they want to be greeted on. So we already have that pre-built in our system where the clients is, it's calling, their phone number are attached to a language that they select from the first time that they call us. And that makes the biggest difference because it's a huge language barrier and can set the tone for the entire call, right? So we are using that. And also, it is changing the entire landscape because the client already feel from that first interaction, even though it's not a human, it sounds like a human, but it's not a human, they're feeling connected, right? Culturally connected with that person. And we are breaking down that barrier of language, that exists, very pronounced in this industry, right? So, and that's the first thing. And then the second, I think that the second biggest thing that I think for us is helping is to understand, what level of manpower is allocated to that specific need that person is calling, right? So within the first 10 to 15 seconds, we can identify, is this billing something that can be done by a tier 1 person? Or is this a complicated case that needs to go to an account manager because it's going to involve calling the carrier and all of that? So by feeding the AI the most interactions that our clients have called for the past 7 years, they're able, she's able to identify quickly what is that they're calling and where it needs to go and reroute it. So for us, speed and efficiency and the interaction, overall satisfaction of the client. So those are 3 very important things for your retention. And for us, it's been a game changer.
Thank you, Monica. So we have a question from Jim. Which AI tools are you using, and what is the best area in an agency to implement those? Do you have any AI recommendations?
It's a big old question. I think for us, some of the easy ones is just find the software that the AI tool that's available in your current software and start playing with it. I think that's always a great place to start instead of jumping into a piece of software to just solve, like Monica was saying early, finding AI to help you read your email, really thinking, like Ryan was saying, thinking where you're wanting to go in the future and then taking baby steps to get there. So I'm happy to send out what our tech stack is, but this is an interesting topic too. Sometimes it's hard to define that. Are y'all finding that the lines are getting a little blurred between what is AI and what is not? Because some of the AI tools have already been implemented in the past, but the software company or vendor didn't necessarily identify it as AI. For instance, transcribing voicemails and dropping them into your management system, and pulling up a client as soon as the phone rings, we use Lightspeed and we also use QQ Catalyst. So as soon as the call rings, the clients, if they're an existing client, their account pulls up and that voice call is automatically transcribed and then dropped into the account. Whenever a client emails, also, we use Microsoft. So emails are all dropped into that client's account, assuming we have the correct email address. And then we use AI also for Total CSR has an Ask Ellie feature. I'm a little nervous about, just like Brent was talking about, for policy language, putting too much in ChatGPT because it's also pulling from, attorney sites and some of the policy language might not totally be accurate, but for insurance questions, we go to Total CSR because that AI is scrubbed for specific insurance. So there's an Ask Ellie tool in Total CSR that we get access to. Total CSR is a training platform that we use. So those are just a few of the ones that we use.
Thank you, Melissa.
There is very few that are integrated or working well for insurance. So it's really hard to answer that question directly. Like, for example, for us, we don't use anything external. But from the systems that we have, for example, we use Dialpad instead of other phone system. And Dialpad has a direct integration that it translates all the calls and it provides us, like, every time that client is on the phone, it integrates with our CRM and AMS and provide us a summary of that client for the past 3 years. So there is certain things that you can integrate, and double check with the systems that you already have to see how you can improve the efficiency and the data that you receive from that specific system, right? And then you can also look into what are the open APIs out there that they can integrate with, because that's really important. You don't want to have 700 systems. So, as much as you can be vertically integrated, the better you will operate, because it's hard for your employees or for your staff to be accessing all different sorts of systems out there, and nothing is cohesive or coexisting. So you really have to be very, very careful in terms of, I know it's exciting, but you also need to, be careful. Like Brent mentioned earlier, not all of them, there is one popping up every 20 minutes, right? But do they really have the capacity to provide you with efficiency that you need? Are they proven? Can they integrate with what you really do? Some of them out there are already proven. I look at a list here, like Sonant, which is AI receptionist for insurance, and the other one I've heard of is Cognigy or something like that. That carriers are using them. I haven't heard of them being used at the agency level, but carriers are using them. But the good thing is, like, a lot of the phone systems right now are coming out with a lot of their own AI tools. So look at what you have first, and then identify if there is anything outside of that you need to integrate.
Thank you, Monica.
Just on an easy side to get started, ChatGPT, just grab it, start playing with it. It sounds simple, but let's say you need to write a newsletter. Type the information you want to put a newsletter about and sit back and it'll write your newsletter for you. The key thing is you have to proofread it. Sometimes it gets things wrong. But think about that in your daily process of even writing emails to clients. I know one of our vendors that we work with, everybody they have in the office that does client service and sends out emails runs it through Chat GPT or some other engine to proof it before they send it.
With
So
every test that we do, we're trying to think, is this something AI can assist as a tool to help me do? So we're using AI more as an assistant instead of replacing people currently. In fact, I put all Maserat's questions in Chat GPT, just curious, you know. And then the more that AI gets to know you and your personality, like I put the questions in and describe my agency first. You know, so but yeah, I think any task that we do in our agency, I'm asking my staff, could AI help you do better? Could AI polish that for you more?
And also,
yeah,
like for us that we're always sending emails to the clients or responding to questions, one of the things I've teach my staff to do when using ChatGPT is to put like whatever they wrote, put it in there and ask GTP, you know, do I have any legal E&O points in this email? How can I frame it better to avoid miscommunication with the client, et cetera, et cetera. So there are just certain things that on a daily basis, instead of wasting 10 to 15 to 20 minutes on doing something, you can reduce it to 5, and that time efficiency is fantastic. So there are so many things that you can integrate, right? From an operational and efficiency standpoint, that doesn't have to be elaborated.
yep. So, Ryan, how important is having an integrated tech stack versus using multiple platforms? What do you think?
Well, I would say, you know, the more you can integrate, the more you can have your systems talk to each other, the easier the time you're going to have, you know, just in general, just from a pure time saving standpoint, you know, having to do multiple entry for the same information in different systems, you know, that's going to not only cause you headache, but it's going to take extra time, take you away from things that are maybe more important, like, you know, talking to customers, you know, handling any situations, things like that.
Yeah. Brent, what do you think?
Well, I have to totally agree with Ryan that every time you type something on a keyboard, you're running the chance of a mistake. So the first thing you got to do is make sure that your data that you're putting in there is correct. And whether it's addresses or phone numbers or whatever. So the less times you type that, the better off you are. And as far as overall, when the systems can work together, whether like, for example, our system works very well with InsuredMine, all that data flushes out to InsuredMine and they're able to utilize it better on the marketing side where there's no double entry involved.
And I would like to ask you, Brent, as you are a AMS also person, tech leader, and insurance agent you were, what role do you see that the CRM and InsureTech platforms will play in the agency's growth for this 2025 and, of course, 2026?
You know, they're beginning to take a big role already, but I think they're going to continue to grow. It's always getting a little funny. I think we all know how to sell. We know we need to follow up with customers. We know we need to call them. We know we need to send email, but we get busy and we get distracted and we don't always do those things. And when you take something like a CRM and it will remind you repetitively that you need to send that email or call someone, it's going to make your life a little bit easier. You still got to do the work. Now, in some cases, right, it automates the work. It may send the email for you, but you may want to follow up on the email with a phone call. Depends on how your work process is. I think that often we forget how effective phone calls can still be to customers. And it's easier to send an email. I totally get that. But the real life voice means a lot, especially with customer service, retention, and definitely in the initial sales process.
Yeah, I agree on that. Mellissa, Monica, any comments here?
I was going to add to another little tool. When Brent suggested just pulling up ChatGPT and start playing with it for us in a personal lines agency, sometimes we just started implementing this because we were thinking, okay, you're always looking right at your processes, your sales process, your service process, and trying to make it better and more efficient, which goes back to evolving towards customers' expectation, because especially personal lines, they want it at 3 a.m. yesterday. And we were most of us sleeping then. So what we're trying to do is just refine those processes with AI. And one thing we just implemented last week that's working well is instead of, when you get a homeowner's insurance lead, trying to find all the home specs through different realtor sites and tax assessor sites if you don't have an appraisal. So we just put the address in ChatGPT, and it's actually pulling up some specs pretty quickly. So that was cool suggestion. So again, as you're going through those processes and looking at each one and whiteboarding it, you're thinking, could AI help with that? Could AI help with that? Could AI help with that?
And talking about, of course, all of this technology and AI, etc., something that it's important for agencies, it's how they can focus on retention and client lifetime value, right? Because sometimes it's keeping the client, but also making cross sellings, review which policy do they have and which other policy can they acquire with you. What will be the recommendation? Brian, Brent?
So we work with a vendor that we're aware of who is able to tell you if someone is shopping their insurance. And they will send you an email that says, Joe Smith is looking for new homeowners insurance. So AI is basically going out and doing that, analyzing of what's happening. And it's a great retention tool, because if you can call your customer and say, well, I heard you might be looking for a new home, but you haven't called us yet. How can we help you? Or you're shopping your car insurance and you haven't called us yet. You can preemptively try and save that customer versus find out later on they called 12 other places and never called you. They just thought your price was your price. They may not realize that you have 4 other carriers they could be quoted with if it works out for them.
Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Brent on that. As far as, how you tackle that situation, I think you always got to be careful so you're not too big brother-ish with some of that. But as we all know, keeping customers is typically easier than getting new ones. So taking that time, focusing on the retention part, in addition to, obviously the new sales. Again, I think it comes down to finding that right mix of technology and human touch to be able to take care of that customer in the way they want to be taken care of. And, if you can take both of those pieces and find the right mix of both, then your retention is hopefully on an upward trend.
Yep. Brent, people is asking for that vendor that you mentioned.
Yeah, I started to type it in and like my brain just went totally blank. Ryan, who am I talking about? I can't think of her
It's
name.
Neon Alerts from Be Atomic.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
It's there, but not there.
ChatGPT just told me that. So there's a use right there, right?
There you go.
So other question is about, of course, growing retention, but the market is changing, the customers are changing. So what do you think about the new generations and how, of course, the agencies needs to evolve to bring that type of customers and focus in those?
I can tell you from my experience, both as an agent, which I know it's been a few years, so it was kind of pre-AI, but finding the right combination of ways to talk to folks communicate with them the way they want to communicate. And, that's seems simple, but that has always kind of worked well for me. And depending on, you're not going to know necessarily right away, but you get the idea if you call somebody over and over and then you get a text message back as soon as you send one, that's going to be the way they're going to choose to communicate. I think you just got to find the right mix.
Yep.
Agree with Ryan. I think, understanding the behaviors of your clients. A lot of agencies make the mistake of, I need the client to adjust the way I want to communicate because it's what works best for me. So, we can get a lot done, send it by email and call it a day. But a lot of clients are not really even listening to voicemails or reading emails anymore. So how are we adjusting to the way that they are, their consumer behavior is changing? That's very important. Like I serve the mostly the Latino community, and how they don't even communicate through text message. It's like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, because they focus on the apps that can give them access internationally without having to pay too much, right? So they don't use SMS, they use other vessels. So how did we adapt it to that, in order to have, a line of communication with them? A lot of them also like video, over message. So are we utilizing video to explain something real quick that can be lost in translation in a huge, message that can be sent, right? So I think we need to find the ways that our clients, and the behavior of our clients is. There are certain things that cannot be done that way. And that's okay, they understand. But if the majority of the communication, you can shift it to what they are accustomed to today, believe me that, your retention will go up, your sales will go up, because it's a consequence of how you are adapting to that consumer behavior, right? And I know I've been talking about this quite a bit, but language, we are seeing, where before, all immigrants, or minority communities, when they came here, they were forced to learn English, right? Because if you didn't speak English, you couldn't succeed. But now we are seeing a shift into those second and third generations that, they prefer to, even though they speak English, they prefer to be communicated on their language. And that's something that our industry has not gotten ahead of. In many of, the carriers do not offer bilingual services. So how are we going to staff our agencies and make sure that we are targeting, multilingual individuals to join this industry in order to provide those services, and utilizing, supplemental AI and other things to help with that, because there is a huge growing population that is going to buy insurance, is going to need insurance, and that's a reality that is hitting us more and more in the face. So I think there is just a lot of different things that we have to study from a buying behavior standpoint, and each, agent, each niche market is unique. But I think adapting to those it's going to be extremely important moving forward.
Thank you, Monica. Which platforms are you using to communicate with your clients or prospects?
Me specifically, we have everything vertically integrated, but WhatsApp is a huge one. Social media platforms is another, and phone calls. Definitely not email, unless it's for like signing applications and confirming information. But I will say, WhatsApp, and social media, and phone calls is still number one. Definitely people want to make sure that you're real, that that they are actually speaking with a human, right? So phone calls is still a very big part of what we do today. But definitely the WhatsApp is like the biggest second tool that we use today.
Thank you. Thank you, Monica. Brent, what will be your takeaway on this?
I think that technology is moving extremely fast. It always has. For example, if we're looking into the medium we're on right now, we're on Zoom. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, what was Zoom? Nobody knew. Now, we do more, at least I see myself doing more phone calls or let's say meetings or discussions like this on Zoom than we ever pick up the phone and just call someone. Another one is Microsoft Teams. That a lot of businesses use that, and it's really easy to message someone through there. So I think as technology continues to move, we still have to be conscious though of having too much technology do the work for us, and we have to back up and make sure that we're providing the customer what they need. And just as an example, I was thinking, if you look at, you can buy online, right? Bare minimum coverage. How many people really understand that property damage at $10,000, you can't begin to buy a used car hardly anymore for $10,000, but they're happy to sell it to you online for that, right? And some of the commercials that we're seeing. So it's really up to the agents to make a follow-up phone call or contact them some way and explain what they really just bought, because they might be surprised how detrimental to their health it could be.
Yeah, I mean, I just to share, right? Couple of 1 month ago, I just buy my house, and I wasn't aware of all the things that I have to get to buy the house and insurance. And I use ChatGPT to learn about it. Even though I work with insurance agencies, sometimes it's like I do not have a clue what do I have to do as a buyer for insurance, and what is going to be the next steps. So sometimes you do not have the information at all, or clients do not understand what do they have to do, and the platforms or the websites, they are not clear. Just and I will ask to Ryan and to Mellissa, how do you see the role of independent agent evolving over the next few years?
Well, I would say that agents are going to continue to be necessary. Kind of like we were just saying, you can go online and buy your state minimum coverage. You didn't buy a whole lot, really, in most cases. The role of the agent to be able to educate their customers, their clients, to kind of get a whole picture of what they're looking for, some of the pitfalls, additional options where they may need additional protection, things like that. Agents are going to be able to pull that up. Where if you're just relying on the technology, like you said, Montserrat, you couldn't find it anywhere without going the extra steps. Your agent would have that information for you as well. So I think the independent agents continue to be to play an important role in the insurance industry.
Mellissa?
I definitely would agree with that. We kind of, well, you work so hard to build rapport and have that connection. And in an insurance, we're selling claim service. That's what I've always said. And in those instances, when you can come in and shine in a claims experience, AI can't do that. AI does not always have emotion, though it tries to. It's nothing like a human. So I think there is definitely still a place for the independent agent, and I think there still will be for a long time. I might get proven wrong, but I think we'll continue to be the risk advisor, the educator. However, the time it takes to, especially for the more transactional pieces of insurance, I think those will, AI will help to reduce that time, and communication for things like a deck page or, quick changes, quick needs like that, is really where AI can help with efficiency and fill the need of this next generation of, they want data quickly and answers quickly as soon as they ask. So, but I think there'll still definitely be a need for the risk advisor, and a trusted insurance agent is still valid.
Thank you, Mellissa. And I will
Mhm.
ask Brent, as he mentioned at the beginning, his expertise in technology. Which other technology, Brent, do you see that it's going to evolve, that it's not AI per se? Have you seen something that it's coming?
That's a tough question off the top of my head, but think of what's coming and how it's going to impact the industry. Honestly, at the moment, I can't think of anything that is going to be life-changing at the moment anyways.
Well, thank you. And well, just to finish these panelist questions about the insurance industry, what will be your advice for all of the attendees on how they have to prepare for the future, and what will be something that they need to start doing or change? So I will ask to everyone, what do you think?
For me, everything starts with having a good operationally sound agency. Without having, processes, without having a stabilized base, all of these things could crumble and not work just because you don't have the structure for it. So I think if you're thinking, if anyone is thinking on incorporating all these things, it will be good for you to have, good processes in place, and a pretty good sound operational base, in order to, revamp and take the next step.
Thank you, Monica.
So I
Brian,
would
right?
say you want to start at the very beginning by identifying all those issues that you want to address. I think a lot of times we want to use AI, but we don't know why or really what our end goal is. And so at that point, identify your problems, identify the issues you're trying to work on, then look at what you have internally. The systems you have internally may do a lot of the things you're asking for. It's just that you haven't taken the time to learn those systems. And then if it still doesn't satisfy your needs, now look at your third options, which are AI or other types of technology. But I'm always going to circle back to when you do that, you must continue to test and analyze what processes you're using. Kind of what Monica was saying, but I'll give you an example yesterday that I spent on phone tree. I won't use the word that I was thinking, but I called a carrier and I kept pushing buttons and I kept saying my policy number. 5 phone calls later, and I'm not kidding, I'm not exaggerating, you go through the button, go through the process, and then it would disconnect. Call back, start over, try something different. 5 phone calls later, I finally got a person. So I think one of the processes that we have to really remember is that, yeah, let's implement it, but let's continue to monitor whether it's working. Is there a better way we can do it? Or should we just drop it altogether? Because sometimes we implement things and then we realize, wow, that was really stupid. We shouldn't have done that. And then there's other times that we go, wow, that's the greatest thing we've ever done. Best idea I had all day, right? So.
Thank you, Brent. Mellissa?
Hardly agree with what Monica and Brett have said as well. You got to embrace the change, even though our industry is not embracing it as fast as others have. I wouldn't reinvent the wheel though in your current agency. I would start small, and because it can get overwhelming, and really identify, what your need is to fix and focus on that. What are the biggest pain points in your agency right now? And how can technology help overcome that? Something that we've done also is, and we're currently doing this again, but we go back to our vendors and our software companies and do a demo as if we're a new client, and specifically asking about what AI are you currently developing and what do you have in place already? Because a lot of times the current software that you have, your current tech stack, can probably solve. And then also we say to our vendors, these are the things we're trying to overcome. These are the processes. What are other agencies doing? And then thirdly is, in those carrier meetings that can get so mundane, we have a meeting agenda and structure. And one of the bullet points on our meeting agenda with our carrier partners is what are you seeing other agencies doing? How are they using AI? What are you, carrier partner, doing with AI? How are you using AI? Because they're using a lot of things with claims and customer service too, that we could help translate in the agency as well, and they're willing to support you. And a lot of those are, not going to cost you any additional monthly funds.
And I would just say periodically evaluating just kind of what
Yes.
you're using, making sure it's working for you. If something isn't, reach out to your provider, find out, is there something you can be doing differently? Take advantage of the support that these folks offer, and then reevaluate whether it's worth keeping or looking a different direction.
A lot of the software can start to overlap too. So we've tried to continue to trim the fat too with our tech stack as well.
Thank you. I really appreciate all of you helping us, giving us your view of how the insurance industry is coming, your advice on what do we have to do and how we can implement AI, or the little baby steps that we have to do to start with something. Either it's not AI, but at least, as Brent mentioned, continuous reviewing your process and see what you have to remove or to improve. And other thing that I have seen is that now with all of this technology, you can make faster decisions and you can implement it. So you do not have to wait longer to take an action and to see how it's going to help you. You will see a small steps and a small progress that is going to help you to evolve your business. So thank you all. I will share with all of the attendees this webinar, the recording. Do not forget that every 2 Wednesdays or bi-weekly we have webinars, and we send you the emails and the reminders for the webinars. If you want to review the next coming webinar, you can go to our website and find the webinar that is going to be Win Back Pipeline, how to build your win-back pipeline in InsuredMine, and the advice that we suggest to you. And well, thank you all. Thank you, Brent, Ryan, Monica, Mellissa, to join us, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.